Day 2.
This is the Colonel's Journal for Day 2 of Eco with Bad Company. Now, overnight I've been able to leave my plants growing here. Now, I put an assorted medley of various wild stuffs that people might eat in my garden here, and quite a lot of it's dead, which doesn't bode well. As you can see, this berry bush in front of me has looked better. This corn, yeah, no, that's knackered. There are odds and ends that have grown, but fundamentally, this crop has not gone to plan. As I mentioned yesterday, the goal here is to understand the growing conditions, and of course I've got precious little understanding of the growing conditions at the moment. The other downside, of course, is that all these plants that are dying, I'm not getting the seeds back when I harvest them, and therefore I'm gradually wearing these out. The good news is the bushes will regrow all by themselves, and yeah, okay. So I mean, you know, a diet of berries only. Probably not a best plan. Well, I hope you're enjoying all of this shovel action, and I'm sure there will be more anecdotes vis-a-vis the growing of crops as this journal progresses, because the life of a farmer is largely that of planting crops and then later harvesting crops while lamenting the lack of performance in said crops. That was a dead beat there. The deadbeat. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, the tomatoes are particularly worrisome because very few of these plants manage to take hold in the slightest. And as mentioned before, in order to achieve greatness in skill growth, we really are going to need a balanced diet. But it's pretty obvious to me right now that this isn't going to work, and that I'm going to need to put quite a lot more research into growing plants if I'm going to be in any way successful at all, and we're all going to avoid starvation. Well, there's that to come. I'm pretty confident that we'll make a good fist of it. Now, as much as the exploits of one man and his shovel are no doubt enthralling, this series will also be engaged in a cookery show of sorts with me, Colonel Failure. Today's recipe is going to be charred corn. I suggest you get your workbooks out, put your penny on, and take notes as we go. First up, you grab some corn. Second, you put that on the campfire. Then you set fire to the campfire, wait a few minutes. Bada bing, you've got your charred corn. There. It's not the most nutritious thing you could have, but it's not bad for some early campsite living there. In tomorrow's show, we'll be detailing charred beets. Be sure to tune in for that. It's going to be particularly riveting, and you'll never guess exactly how that recipe works. The other major development on day 2 was the emergence of the ugly head of capitalism, which has led me to unlink my free food chests from the campfires, so that the good stuff that I'm currently making, as much as you could describe charred this, charred that, charred the other as good stuff, I'm not about to start giving that away for free when other people are starting to charge for their own wares as well. As you can see, I've now got a store of my own. It's just a question of setting it up so that I can start charging other people for things that previously I was giving them for nothing. So communism, such as we started out, dies a death here on day 2. As it rapidly turns into every man for himself. Now, leading the charge towards this bright capitalist future is the owner of Logland Carpentry, Mr. Vargan. He's been jolly busy overnight. He's got a contract board up here. He's built himself a private road. And what have we got on offer here? Oh, a free cart rental. How jolly generous that is. Nice house as well. My gosh, he really has been busy. And here's the store. Look, let's go and have a look. He's selling hewn logs. How much? At a what I see as a slightly unreasonable rate of 8 Vargan credit. Interesting. The Vargan credit appears to have appeared out of nowhere there. Where we were an egalitarian society yesterday, today not so much. Today we are under the thumb of the capitalist masters already, and you can see the 1% in full action here by the fact that he's living in a house that has windows, whereas I'm living in what is effectively a mud hut with a bonfire outside. With that Rubicon crossed, however, I decide to jump on board the bandwagon. After all, if you can't beat them, you might as well join them. The one thing I do decide to do, however, is rather than also adopt the Wagon credit, which is something we don't want to do, I'm going to be trading in the kernel failure credit, or CBUC, as it will shortly become known. After all, I think a monopoly is a very bad thing, unless, of course, I'm the one with the monopoly. And given that I am currently the only one of our bold band of adventurers who has opted to create food with which to sustain everybody, I don't see that as a bad thing at all. Of course, I've got no idea how much I should be charging for stuff, but I'll just put some arbitrary prices on there and see how we go. Now, it's not all one-way traffic. Of course, I'm going to also buy the resources that I need, and frankly, I'm fed up of walking up the road in order to get logs to build my house out of. I'll get other people to bring them to me, and that way I can save me legs for a bit more farming. Now, earlier this morning, my neighbour, Mr. Pixelator, remarked that the landscape is now starting to resemble something similar to Michael Jackson's Earth Song, given the amount of deforestation that has occurred. And he's not wrong. We have indeed hit the landscape like the fist of an angry god, and there is precious little tree life remaining. This has been pointed out to our lumberjack-in-chief, that maybe he ought to spend less of his time building himself a lovely house and perhaps invest in, I don't know, planting some trees. So there are still some by day 3. This one outside my house I'm hoping to preserve for as long as possible, just as a note of respect to the Earth Mother and her many various grassy bits that are making my lawn look untidy. Yeah, I'll just dig them under, I think. Yeah, let's just do that. Meanwhile, and given that most of my crops failed on the first day, I decided to go and explore the rest of the world a little bit. I mean, the world's not that big a place, but I decided to go try and find somewhere that might form quite a pleasant growing environment for future crops. And I found this quite a nice river. It's quite an excitable river when it comes down to it. But yeah, I found somewhere that seems to be readily growing an awful lot of corn. So my thinking is to perhaps cultivate this after staking a claim to it, so that none of the others can get in there and nab all of what is effectively free food. Although that dead tomato plant is something of a concern. I'm not gonna worry too much about it. Now we'll just dig it up, pretend it didn't happen. There you go. We'll take some more tomatoes. Anyway, I find that this landscape is still really quite pretty, and I'm just gonna stand and enjoy the sunshine for a little while. Because, well, frankly, why wouldn't you? We've got a big challenge ahead of us. We've got to progress from the Stone Age that we're in now. Well, it's not even the Stone Age, it's the Wood Age. We've got to get up to the point of developing stone tools and materials and building our houses out of stone, all the while earning enough skill points so that we can actually work with such newfangled machinery. Anyway, I shall be back every day with the next entry into the Colonel's Journal, and I enjoy. I'm enjoying it, but I invite you to come along and enjoy it as well. And I recommend subscribing to ensure that you don't miss out on such behaviour. And also, please fling a like at this one if you think that Bad Company do indeed have a fighting chance of withstanding the incoming apocalypse. It's only day 2. We'll be fine. You'll see. Cheerio!